Yeah, I finished the level. Isn't that crazy? So a few weeks ago I uploaded Imposter Syndrome. It's my first Project Arrhythmia custom level in just around a year, and it kinda came out of nowhere. I don't mean out of nowhere in the strictest sense, like, I've been working on this for around 3 months. But doesn't it kind of feel weird? I'm just randomly coming back in here after a year of nothing with a level that looks nothing like ones I've made before. There's gradients everywhere, stuff here looks familiar. What's going on here? Isn't this attack from Classic Pursuit? Aren't these logos for things I've made? Well, there's creator. If there's creator there's something crazy going on. This level has a bit of history and thought put into it. And hey, I've been meaning to test the waters with more video essay style Project Arrhythmia content, so what better way than to yap about something I literally just made? If people like this, maybe I'll move on to talk about my other levels, checking off some lore videos I put on the back burner, and even give my thoughts on other creators and levels too. I got a lot to say. Imposter Syndrome came around in the sort of break period for me. I had not too long ago finished a secret level for a sort of secret project and was busy with college again. That level is its own story. My point is, if I was in the editor at all, it was to make a small test, like this. The first version of Imposter Syndrome is this one test level I made with Nato's remix of One More Time. Obviously I can't upload a level with the cover of a Daft Punk song to the workshop, so I went into this just sort of messing around with gradients. Making a level that only used gradients was my plan from the start. Eventually I switched over to a different song because I wanted to do something that I could upload, but I still wasn't totally on the path I took with this level. I had a pretty different plan for it at first after all. Originally it was going to be mashed up with other people's levels mainly, alongside my own. The levels also would have been more blatant references that looked almost exactly like the original levels. I managed to reach out to a few people over this. Mysterious Shep for their level Telephone, and Darky Shad for their level I Love You. I Love You was going to go here, and Telephone was going to go here. It was sort of going to be as smooth of a transition as possible, actually. For example, I Love You has a heart in the center, and then Telephone has a heart in the center too. So that one heart would have just become the other hearts. This would have been a cool idea, but I don't think it would have been easy, and I definitely wouldn't have been able to pick enough levels for it that fit well enough together. Especially since I was limiting myself to no boss levels. So I shifted perspective. This would be my own levels, and they would all look sort of similar. Oh, and it's still all gradients because it's cool, and that's probably the most unique one my levels have looked so far. From then on, actually making the level was straightforward. I will say though, I intentionally limited the amount of previews I shared to keep some things as surprises. I usually will post a lot of clips of levels I'm working on to social media, but this time I stayed away from it because I wanted people to dig into it to find out which levels would be referenced at their own pace. Also, creators showing up at the end was meant to sort of be a surprise too, but I don't blame anybody for guessing that would happen anyway. I mean, yeah. Once I finished the level, I took it to a handful of people for playtesting, like I normally do these days. I've tried doing it for a bit now, even though people will often say my gameplay is good, because even if that's true, I want more perspectives. The lineup of playtesters this time was Mysterious Shep, an insanely underrated creator from the past couple of years. I've playtested a few of their levels before, you might have seen me in the credits. Their levels play really well. Motion 3, who was a similar case. I've playtested some of his levels for the experiments, and his stuff is pretty good too. Duke M's, I chose not only for gameplay, but also because he's somebody I bounce a lot of my lore ideas off for the Trials series. Since the creator appears in the level, and the story is more subtle, sort of like Electrify, which Duke M's did catch on to, I wanted to see if any of the intentional touches I had caught on with him here too. And Guacamelon. Guac's my boyfriend. If you're dating me, you get early access to my levels. Alright, so here's the part you've been waiting for. Every single reference in Imposter Syndrome. I wanted to sort of push the limits of how much I could get away with reusing. You know how a lot of levels have text show up like, oh, this is level reference to blah 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 blah. No, I didn't do that on purpose. Putting aside the fact that I think this is stupid, yes, I know I've done it before, a lot of the references are extremely subtle on purpose. It's meant to be a puzzle. You're meant to look at it and go, oh hey, that looks kind of familiar, but I don't know exactly what it is. Oh, it's this. Or maybe you do know exactly what it is and you're proud of that. There's a few freaks who probably found out what everything in here is. I'm going to list off every single reference and maybe even why I chose it. So, spoilers? Okay, so to start off, the screen transition at the beginning isn't really a reference to anything. Some people really thought this was a Deltarune reference for some reason. Guys, I love Deltarune, but y'all are kind of annoying. After that, though, this part is obviously based on Shape of the Sun. The background and the attacks here, and even the way the lyrics show up are directly pulled from it, though I did do a bit of a different thing with the lyrics. And the build-up is the first part in this level, which is directly based off of the One More Time test. This was actually the first part of this version of the level I made, and I'm pretty surprised at how cleanly it translated from a completely different song into here. Once we get to checkpoint 1, where things get weird and all over the place. The wall here is similar to the second half of that one more time test, but the laser bullet attack is from Dissolve. But instead of being random, it shows up in a set pattern going from top to bottom. The bullets from the top and bottom are based on the level Fuel the Auto Shooter, an unfinished collab with Motion 3 that I never posted. It was a level using only bullets and a Muke song. I like Muke. You should listen to Muke's music and maybe use it in your levels, please. Then the second part adds in the bullets from this part and Way, minus the full warnings. And then the level glitches out and you see the font change a little. I initially was going to do just the font changes, but wanted to take it a bit further, so we have alternate level logos. That's Subvert, Birth of the Sun, and the Synthwave Trials. And you'll see in the background as well that the walls briefly turn into the walls from Way. Checkpoint 2 opens up with another combined section. This has the lasers and background from Pure Guns, not from Classic Pursuits. The ones in Classic Pursuit are referencing Pure Guns. These square bullets are meant to sort of be like Battle of the Bits, that one Just Shapes Beats themed level I made, but I'll admit it is kind of a reach, and I didn't really have many better options. After that, we go right into another section based on the One More Time test. It's similar to the first one, but it has a bit of different gameplay, but it reuses most of the assets from it. And then we're back in this wide scrolling section that's supposed to evoke the Emerald Electric from the Synthwave Trials, with the rectangle bullets and the bombs. To transition into the next part, there's this thing from In the Tiger's Den, which is a big scrolling level that I made before, and it creates a wave that looks like the one out of that level. But the actual gameplay here is completely different, being the maze section from Nautilus, except rotated 90 degrees so that you're going up instead of to the right. There's a few more changes to make it more interesting too, like having multiple circles here instead of just one, and having them move across. Checkpoint 3 is very straightforward, but it's supposed to be like the ending to Impact of TY-77, where you have the game window moving around and zooming in, though here it's just zooming in and out. Then we go into another Trials level, this part with the walls and laser from Preacher combined with the bullets from Excelsis. Sort of like this spinning part from Excelsis actually, but with a different wall. And then there's another glitch out, but this time the walls change into Creator, just like how the walls before changed to the real walls for Waste. Checkpoint 4 has the references get even messier, and that's definitely intentional. The background here is from Classic Pursuit, the side bullets are from Dance with Silence, the unfinished final level of the Complexo Trials, and then the poses are from Preacher again. Then the background changes to Airborne Robots, and there's different bullets from Dance with Silence. Then the background is from Preacher, the bullets are from Birth of the Sun, and we're just zooming out again, and you even see a little bit of Infinity back in. Those shapes for Infinity are directly pulled from Birth of the Sun. And that's pretty much everything. It zooms back in for a final section on the level we started with, and you see a brief zoom out as it fades into darkness. The zoom out was originally going to be a reference to another unfinished level I made, Feral, which ends with a giant zoom out of a bunch of end screens for previous levels I've made. But that would have taken way too long, so I sort of tried getting the same idea with having it zoom out while changing at the same time. Now that we've reviewed all the references, let's rewind a bit in the level to just before it ends. This funny looking shape shows up. If you've been around here before, you know who this is. It's Creator. Creator is the architect of the Trials series, the one who sets into motion and navigator stars of Project Helvetia, etc. They're pretty important, and I'd say that every time they show up in the level of mine, it's most likely canon to their story. I think the one time it wasn't was PA Memories. Anyway, Imposter Syndrome is part of the Trials series. No, not the Synthwave or Complexo Trials. The Trials series, the greater scope collection that those two are a part of. There's a few other standalone levels in it like Electrify and Preacher. Both of those have at least slightly more obvious stories. What's Imposter Syndrome actually about? Well, everything with Creator is about, making stuff. Electrify, though it's subtle, is about iteration and trying new things that might not stick. The level ends abruptly with a new idea being discarded in a fraction of the time it took to create, after all. Preacher is about projection and meaning of stories. Creator is telling DXL's story about being lost for a reason. Imposter Syndrome has a few important pieces of symbolism in it, too. Most important, though, is that Creator is the only thing in this level that isn't a gradient. They're the only thing complete. The only thing real. And they show up almost immediately after a level involving them appears. And then it's even more levels involving them for the rest of the time. And then it ends with Infinity creeping in. Infinity is a space between worlds where Creator operates. Is it creeping in, or was it always there? Who knows? Who cares? Every time I make one of these types of levels, though, I touch a bit more on the themes that I want to with Creator. And I do hope that some people are willing to dig deeper and break down what certain intentional choices in my levels mean. If they don't, though, I'll probably just talk about them in a video like this, because I'm a nerd and I'm kind of embarrassingly proud of it. But yeah, that's a small breakdown of all the references in Imposter Syndrome, a bit of history on how it happens, and some context for its story. If you found any of this interesting, drop a like and maybe subscribe, alright? If this video does well enough, I'll make more like it. Maybe I'll make another level too. Maybe I already have. Have a good one, y'all. Thanks for showing up.